Hi everybody, my name is Alyssa Sawyer and I'm going to be showing you my research paper proposal, Slideshow. So for my topic of research, I've chosen Being Trans in America, an overview of trans history and experience in the United States. So before I jump into any research, I did want to provide you guys with a definition for transgender. So the word transgender or the term trans is an umbrella term for people whose gender identity don't correspond with the biological sex assigned to them at birth. And although the word transgender wasn't coined until the late 20th century, people who could fit this description, they've existed throughout every culture throughout recorded history. So in this research paper, I really want to unpack the history of trans representation in America and discover how that influences public opinion, policy, and most importantly, the lives of transgender people. So why did I take an interest in researching trans lives? Well, I asked myself that question, and the two words that popped into my head were compassion and allyship. So I chose this research because I wanted to learn more about the trans experience so that I could be a better ally. And I also wanted to show people that trans issues are vast, complex, and worth mitigating for the greater good. Being compassionate is a really good virtue to act on. An issue shouldn't have to affect you directly in order for you to care about it and want to help. At the end of the day, we're all human and everyone deserves the same amount of protection, empowerment, and support. So Google defines allyship best. It's the practice of emphasizing social justice, inclusion, and human rights to advance interests of a marginalized group. So trans lives differ quite a lot from their counterparts. It's shown study after study that there are vast disparities, starting with their lack of legal protections, their high poverty rates, harassment and stigma, vast health disparities, anti-trans violence and hate crimes, and issues with personal identification cards, which can affect them from getting loans, housing, travel, student education. It really affects a lot for them. So my research questions that I came up with are, 1, how has the trans visibility progressed over time? And how have those representations influenced public opinion and policy? This is important to know because I think it'll be really good for my understanding the fear and misunderstanding surrounding trans people. The narrative that's been shown for them has not really been the most accurate. So I think that that goes hand in hand with public opinion. And then number 2, where does anti-trans rhetoric come from? I want to know the opinions of the opposing side. I want to research their side chronologically as it follows the lives of trans people. And some supplemental questions that I thought up for this one was, I want to know, is it valid? Should those beliefs outweigh the rights of trans people? And if so, what is the solution for trans people? It's been proven again and again that they won't just disappear, and in fact, denying them and further dehumanizing them only hurts communities. So I just don't see the public interest, but I would like to see if they have any propositions for that concern. And then, how do lives of transgender and cisgender people differ? Well, this is crucial to understanding the dehumanization of trans people. Statistically, most people don't know somebody personally who's trans. So it's very easy to become detached from the problem and create implicit biases that just surround the entire topic and make it very overwhelming to understand. So I want to be able to research other ways people are helping locally and nationally, and what we can do as just daily people to create a safer space for trans people. So I'll also be researching where trans and ally resources can be found. So in my early research, I've already found quite a bit of statistics showing their disparities. So figure 1 that I've provided, this is from the Center for Disease Control. It was a survey done for behavioral risk factor surveillance. So 400,000 transgender Americans reported that they were more likely to be in poverty, So this shows 14% were college educated, while cisgender people reported 28%. 42% of trans people reported that they were currently unemployed, as opposed to 32%. And the overall poverty rate found for transgender people was 31%, opposed to 17% for cisgender people. And in figure 2 that I've provided, this is from the Williams Institute, but this shows that LGBT people have a poverty rate of 21.6, which is much higher than the rate for cisgender straight people, which is 15.7. Among LGBT people, transgender people have especially high rates of poverty. Their poverty rate is 29.4%. And poverty rates increase when race and gender intersect. For example, Black LGBT members have a poverty rate of 30.8%. Americans in poverty tend to have less healthy diets, higher smoking rates, higher stress levels, and all of that impacts families as well as individuals. This third figure that I've found for you guys, this is from the GLAAD Institute. It's a map of the US that shows how many states have laws that prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. They are shown in dark blue and account for 16 out of 50 states. The red on the right indicates the remaining 71% of US square miles that offer no protection for sexual orientation or gender identity. I found on the same GLAAD Institute website, they included a study done by the Human Rights Campaign, and they counted 175 anti-LGBT bills. 44 of them specifically targeted transgender people. So my working thesis essentially is that trans lives are valuable and they should be protected just as any other American life. By learning about the ways in which they're discriminated against, we can really start to undermine the stigma surrounding them and create a safer space. So my research plan, I'm going to go ahead and look for peer-reviewed journals. I plan on taking advantage of the Fulton Library database to find peer-reviewed research on anti-trans legislature. So the key terms I'll use other than anti-trans legislature is violence against trans people, history of trans people, and of course I want to be US specific, so United States or America, whichever one gets me more hits. And then documentary films. I know that there are a lot of documentary films about trans visibility throughout the years. So I want to look into movies made by trans people for trans people so that I can really grasp the main concepts that are most valuable to them. I'm sure that there are also popular movie representation reels, so I do want to look into representation of media and how that affects people's perceptions. Articles of local and national trans experiences. So I really want to find a specific story about specific people who have been discriminated against and what exactly their story was so that I can share a more personalized experience. And then finally, reports done by accredited institutions. So any scholarly journals or other institution, Human Rights Campaign, etc. So I want to look for reports done by those accredited institutions so that I can find statistics about trans people. So trans in healthcare, trans poverty, homelessness, rates of violence, education, all of those. And then for research stakes, so research stakes, it's pretty simple. This topic is one that's not looked for often. Expanding knowledge of trans lives can save trans lives. So very important. We should all care about the well-being of others. Individual health impacts public health, and we're only as strong as our weakest link. This research has the power to change an opinion, or at the very least, it can provide you with the information you didn't know or consider before. And then through education, we can arm ourselves with facts to be better allies. So that is really, really important. Ignorance really does breed fear. So unpacking all of the things that make us fearful is really, really vital to surpassing the stigma. And then finally, my research schedule. So I just went through the syllabus essentially because I'm not working very much. I'm only working 10 to 15 hours during the semester, so I have a lot of time. And so far, I've kept up with this syllabus calendar, and I plan on keeping up with the syllabus calendar. So I've essentially just tracked down all of the due dates, the weeks that I'll be working through them on. And yeah, that's everything. I really am looking forward to this research, and I'm hoping that it can be enlightening for a lot of people and challenge the way that they consider gender identity and how that's different from sexual orientation and what we can all do to be better allies. Thank you. Bye.